Welcome to NFL. Close your eyes and let the story begin.
Chapter 1. He was opening his eyes very slowly, and with the return of consciousness, the very first sensation that struck him was a searing pain at the back of his head. With a groan, he shut his eyes again. Then he felt the pressure of someone's hand on his shoulder. Someone leaned in very close and said in a soft voice, "How are you feeling?" He tried once more to open his eyes. This time, he succeeded. At the edge of the bed, he could make out a few vague shapes. He struggled to look at them, to focus his gaze, but failed. The pain was unbearable. He closed his eyes again and began to moan. "What is your name?" Another question was asked. For a few moments, he lay there with his eyes shut, groaning, trying to think of his name. Then, as if a spark flashed in his mind, he remembered it. Involuntarily, he murmured his name in a faint voice. "What is your home phone number?" Another question followed. Once again, he tried to recall the number, but he couldn't. His mind was scattered. He continued to groan without answering. "What is your home phone number?" The question was repeated. "I don't remember," he said in a shaky voice. "Can you tell me your office phone number?" After a few moments of silence, he was asked again. Once more, he tried to gather his fragmented thoughts, to concentrate, but failed again, because he couldn't remember his office number either. "Can you tell me your office phone number?" "No," he said this time. "Try to think, try to remember," someone said, patting his shoulder. "I don't remember." The intensity of the pain suddenly surged. "Do you know where you are?" He opened his eyes and tried to recognize the face of the person asking, but he couldn't. The face was unfamiliar. He could keep his eyes open for only a moment before he had to close them again. "Hospital." Before the darkness closed in on his mind, he stammered the word in a barely audible voice. After that, he couldn't speak again. "He's unconscious again," the doctor standing beside him said, checking his pulse. "Won't he slip back into a coma like before?" The nurse beside him voiced her concern. "No, he won't go into a coma now. I think he'll regain consciousness again in about half an hour," the doctor replied. "He still hasn't been able to tell us anything about himself except his name. How will the police inform his family?" the nurse asked. "I don't know. That's their problem. They'll figure something out. Our job was only to save his life, and we've done that," the doctor said this time, with a trace of indifference. Without saying anything in response, the nurse glanced once at the patient and then followed the doctor out of the room. Now there was no one left inside except him. Love is like a dark forest. Once you step into it, it does not let you come back out. And even if you do make it out, your eyes become so accustomed to the forest's darkness that in the light, you can no longer see anything, not even what is clear, vivid, and bright. She slowly closed her eyes. Now she was trying to remember whom she had said all this to and when. She did remember to whom she had said it and when. Yes, it is a forest after all, the one I've wandered into. I can neither leave it nor truly stay within it. If I remain inside, nothing will come into my hands. If I step outside, I will no longer be able to see, even with my eyes open, just as it happened during those 5 years when I— "Umid! Umid!" Her mother's voice broke the thread of her thoughts. "Why are you sitting here in the dark?" "I feel like sitting here, Ummi. Inside, it felt so suffocating." In the darkness, her mother could not see the dampness sliding down her face, and from her voice, no one could ever have guessed that she was crying. The suffocation is because of the heat. In a little while, a storm will come, and then it will rain. The weather will turn pleasant again. She herself could not tell whom those words were meant to comfort. "Shall I turn on the courtyard light?" her mother asked her once again. "No, there's a strange calm in the darkness. The light would only unsettle me." She had answered without turning her head, and if they were to find out what I have done, or what has been done to me, perhaps they would make me live in darkness for the rest of my life. She thought this in response to what they might say next. "You really do have the strangest habits. How could light possibly be disturbing?" Her mother was still standing behind her. "Sitting in the dark like this isn't a good thing," she said again. "Just let me sit here for a little while, then I'll get up," she reassured her, her words mingled with flowing tears. "And what about food? When will you eat?" Now her concern had shifted to something else. "After a while," she replied. "I'm going inside now. You come in soon too, all right?" She asked for reassurance from her, as one would from a child. She remained silent. Footsteps sounded behind her. Her mother was heading back inside. If only she hadn't been standing behind me at that moment. If she had come around and stood in front of me, seen my tears, then asked me the reason, or at least sensed something from my voice. Then I would have told her everything. Everything. Each and everything. Each and every word. Each and every letter. All of it. The things I have never been able to say to anyone. The truths I have had to bury by turning my very existence into a grave. She continued to sit like that on the chair placed in the courtyard, lost in thought. But why did he do all this to me? Why me? I never... Once again, her thoughts came to a halt. Yes, I wasn't blameless either. I too always took him for granted. But I never wished for all of this. And now when She pressed her lips together. The tears were now sliding down her neck, soaking into the collar of her shirt. The wind suddenly grew fierce. She felt grit in the air. The trees planted in the courtyard were swaying violently, and the leaves carried by the wind began to strike against her. With lifeless steps, she rose. Once inside the room, she shut the door and lay down on the bed, closing her eyes. She could no longer remember how many days it had been since she had come there. Despite her efforts, she had not been able to return from that place. "Your habits have deteriorated terribly. This time, let him come. I'll speak to him. Ask him why he never says anything to you. Why you keep doing as you please." She listened to her mother's words with an empty mind. "You should take care of yourself. This kind of carelessness is no longer suitable for you." She quietly continued to look at her mother's face. With her eyes closed, she tried to survey her entire life. Where had things gone wrong, and where? When had she made which mistake? A mistake? Had I truly made a mistake? The code of ethics, the moral values I had lived by, were they wrong? And now, to whom am I even capable of speaking about morality? She thought in pain. She opened her eyes. The Quran was being recited, and she knew the reciter well. She also knew that in just a few minutes, that voice would wake her. Rubbing her drowsy eyes, she sat up and covered her mouth to stifle a yawn. I don't know how Daddy manages to wake up so early. Or perhaps he doesn't sleep at all at night. She analyzed this thought as she climbed out of bed. From the adjacent bed, she shook Adila awake, then stepped out of the room. "Very good," Today you're awake without being called, Major Alam Javed said, seeing his daughter emerge from her room, yawning. Well, I thought I'd come out myself before you came in, she replied, coming over to sit beside him. Now that you've gathered this much courage, get up and perform ablution, and pray as well, he said teasingly as he closed the Holy Quran. She got up without saying a word. She was the eldest daughter of Major Alam Javed. Adila was younger than her and followed her twin brothers. She wasn't just his eldest, she was his most pampered. Despite reaching matriculation, there was a great deal of childishness in her temperament, and the primary reason for that was Major Alam Javed's indulgent affection. In her childhood, whenever he was home, she would remain perched in his lap. It was still the same. As long as he was home, she clung to him like a shadow.
She was accustomed to having her father do everything for her rather than her mother. Whether it was covering her books, preparing her lunchbox, or even the distinctly feminine task of fixing her hair. Umid had her father do it all. And perhaps the larger share of the blame for nurturing this habit belonged to Major Alam Javed himself. From childhood, he had done every little thing for her himself. And now, matters had reached a point where, despite her mother's displeasure, she insisted on having everything done by her father alone. Whenever Alam Javed went away on exercises, no one struggled except Umid. She was the only one who did every task through tears, because she simply wasn't used to anyone else doing things for her. And even if someone did, she could never be satisfied. The result was that her mother, upset, would refuse to do anything for her, and would even instruct the Batman not to help her either. When her father returned, she would tell him all of it, and for the next several days, almost in atonement, he would do even the smallest of her tasks himself. Umid had always seen her father as deeply religious. He offered his 5 daily prayers regularly, and at a very young age, he had instilled the habit of prayer in her as well. Keeping her close, he would tell her many things about faith. Some she understood, others she didn't, but she listened quietly all the same. Life was passing in a very tranquil manner. Around those days, after completing her matriculation with excellent marks, Umid enrolled in FSC and began to sense a strange change in the atmosphere of the house. Her mother and father suddenly seemed subdued. She saw her mother in tears many times. Her father, too, appeared deeply worried. His liveliness and cheer had faded all at once. She tried repeatedly to ask them the reason for their distress, but they deftly brushed her off. Then one day, Major Javed Alam sat her down beside him and took her hand in his. "I need to tell you something important today, Umid." There was something profoundly unusual in his voice, something that frightened her. In a low tone, his head bowed, he told her that during a medical checkup, tumors had been diagnosed in 3 places in his brain. The doctors had advised immediate surgery. Never in her life had she felt fear like the kind that seized her as she looked at her father's face in that moment. "I have no real choice," he said. "If I undergo the operation, the chances of survival are still very slim. If I don't, my eyesight will be gone within a few months." His voice seemed to grow heavy. She stared at his face without blinking, caught in a state of disbelief. "You are the eldest in this house. After me, you will have to take on my role and carry my responsibilities. You will have to be very brave," her father said slowly. "But I can't do anything," she said. "You will. You'll learn. You'll have to. Otherwise, what will become of this home? I'm being released from the army. The days ahead will be strenuous, especially for your younger siblings. Your mother said I shouldn't tell you all this. You wouldn't be able to bear it, but it was necessary to inform you. After me, you are the eldest. I told your mother that you are courageous, that you will understand everything." Tears welled up in her eyes. In a choked, trembling voice, she said to her father, "Ummi is right. I'm not brave." He didn't reply. He only kept looking at her in silence. Umid felt as though her very being were melting away. Why did all of this have to happen to my father alone? He was so... The unspoken complaint rose in her heart on its own. So much happens in life, Umid. If tears could change destiny, then every human being would be crying here, just like you. With his left hand, he gently wiped away the tears streaming down her cheeks. Everyone wants to live, but it isn't in our hands, not in mine either. She clung to her father instinctively. But I can't believe it. I can't believe what you're saying. How can this be? How can all of this happen to us? What will we do without you? She was sobbing uncontrollably. Major Alam Javed's eyes, too, began to moisten. She didn't remember how long she cried. She only remembered that when her tears finally slowed, her father once more offered her many words of counsel. That night was one of the most terrifying nights of her life. She couldn't close her eyes for even a moment. Would everything really end like this? So easily? My home, my father, and then me. What will I do? I have never known anything except my father. What is going to happen? Why is it going to happen? Why me? Why us? She didn't remember when morning came. She only realized dawn had arrived when she heard her father's voice reciting the Quran, calm and composed, just as always. Hearing that voice, she broke down again, crying like a child. For many days after that, she didn't go to college. She spent those days in tears. Every day, Major Alam Javed would sit her beside him and explain things to her. Slowly, she began to steady herself, or at least she began to show her father that she was becoming normal again. She no longer cried in front of him, she cried in secret. She started going to college again. The playfulness and childishness vanished from her life all at once. She began to feel the weight of the responsibilities that lay ahead of him. They had no personal or ancestral home, nor any substantial bank balance. Even after his release from the army, there could be no major improvement in their financial situation. At best, they might buy a small house or a flat and place some money in fixed deposits, but to live a life, so many other things were needed. Where would those come from? And even if everything else were somehow arranged, where would a father come from? The next few months grew even more difficult for her. She was slowly watching her father fade away. Major Alam Javed did not want to undergo surgery. I want to spend whatever days of my life I have left in full awareness, looking at you all, he had said while refusing the operation. I don't want to shorten my life any further. No one insisted again.